Conversations with Creatives. I am interviewing an old friend of mine that I met at William Davis Acting School, which seems to be a theme in these interviews. This is Charles Zuckermann. And not only is he a photographer, an extraordinary photographer, as I think, along the lines of Karsh, because he really captures the soul of the artist. And even the shoe he really gets how to make a beautiful image. And so we were old friends. He was an actor, he is an actor, and he also takes photographs. And among many other things, the man is a multidisciplinary artist. Thank you so much, Charles. This is such a pleasure.
And thank you for having me. It's this is like a trip down memory lane a bit.
It really is. I was thinking back this morning to my old little apartment in Gastown where you and Rafe came and we were working on shows together, and it was just fun. Fun. We really worked at the art, didn't we?
Yeah, it was very much. I think that's one of the joys of youth is that the lack of understanding of the boundaries allows you to push way beyond them. And I think that became the base for a lot of what you and I are doing now. If we hadn't pushed further than the boundaries would allow, I don't think we'd even be here now.
Yay for the freaks. Yeah. I think that's true. I mean, I really needed to feel something, and I know you did too.
Yes,
we really needed to get our teeth into stuff. So you did change from just acting and creating that way to photography. And then how did that happen? How did you get into it?
Well, I first started doing photography back in college. I took basically what would be considered now like a minor in photography. And I had a really bad problem, and I know a lot of photographers laugh at it, but I got extraordinarily sick in the lab. I couldn't handle the chemicals, right? And so, you're pushing and you're pushing, trying to find something there, but you're stopped once you're sick in the lab. And it just seemed to me not useful to remove that from the equation and let somebody else edit my pictures. So I got a little bored with it and let it sit for a while.
Right.
And then I went and pursued my acting career because I was going to the Dome as well in Montreal. I pursued my acting career, and after a while, I had quite a bit of success with my acting career, but had to make some severe choices between whether I was going to be a father or a full-time actor. And just because I believed that I would have had to have given all of my soul to my acting.
Yeah.
And I chose being a father, and I raised my son. And then I stuck in the restaurant business for quite some time. And that sort of led to a career in marketing. And I was part of the first digital marketers, for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, back when it was first emerging. And because we didn't have tons of money with that, I ended up creating a large portion of the content with the new digital cameras that we were playing with. And basically, to make a long story short, my career as a marketer sort of imploded when two of my large clients crumbled and businesses ceased, and I was forced to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for the work and stuff they'd done, and that made my my company sort of implode.
Oh my God.
But this becomes part of a theme of what I wanted to talk about today, which is one of my favorite commercials of all time is the Michael Jordan failure commercial, in which he talks about the idea of it takes almost 1,000 failures to reach any great success, right? Yeah. So I took the ashes of that and decided, you know what? I really love photography. And I started pushing my photography. I had done some cinematography and some directing back in the days when you and I knew each other. Yes. So an idea of lighting and an idea of creation and storytelling was already there, as also with the acting. And it just emerged slowly from that. And because we were in the digital world, I didn't have to go in the lab and I could start doing that work on my computer. And it slowly evolved. At first I was doing events, and then from events, it led to really portraiture. And, for lack of a better word, I started to leverage all the people I knew in the creative world and said, listen, do you mind if I take some pictures of you? And so luckily I knew and know, and I'm friends with a number of people who do amazing work. And they were more than happy to engage in a creative process with me of taking photos. So it really grew from there.
Well, I think that people trust you. I think part of the reason that people trust you so much is, just innate, but also the way you launched yourself right into being a dad. I don't know how many people told you, but you were, it was admirable. It was like, wow, this guy really wants to do a good job at this. And it's sort of like, forget everything else. I'm a dad and I'm just going to keep doing this dad thing, and I'm going to do
Because
it
that's
well.
your job. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so funny. People talk about the admiration. I've heard it a number of times, the admiration for
Yeah.
me being a dad. And part of me just says, I was doing what all dads should be doing. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing that ever happened. My son's 25 years old now and is
Yeah.
an incredible human.
Yeah, kudos to you and his mom, because it's a big thing. And as my mother-in-law says, if they stay out of jail, you've done really well, and if they're better than that, you're a rock star.
Oh
So
yeah, exactly. And I think, if I was to get a test, or Josh was to get a test on being a good human, he pretty much hit it at 100%. So I'm pretty
yeah.
proud.
Yeah. Okay, well that is a good answer to that question, how you became a photographer.
Hey, he doesn't let me photograph him, by the way, at all. He hates it.
That's typical, right? Like, your dad is really good at something, don't let him do it.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be crazy. So I wanted to talk to you about what kind of things you want people to do
Mm.
when they come to work with you, and also what kind of clients you like. Who are your clients, and who do you like to work with?
Okay, that's a very mixed question.
We
As a
start with who are your clients?
pardon?
Should we start with who are your clients?
Yeah, I'd like to start there, but I
Okay.
want to answer that question. Who
Okay.
do I like to work with, as opposed
Yeah.
to who end up being my subjects?
Oh, your subjects. Pardon me.
Yeah,
Your
no.
subjects. No, I
Um,
know that's a cool way to think about it.
yeah. Well, everybody is a subject, right? It's not just about the money.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I like to work with people who are truly involved in their craft, because people
Yeah.
who are truly, truly involved in their craft, yes, we need to make money. We're actors, and this is our job, right? But I need to see some sort of understanding of that joy of that craft, and really loving it. I had the chance to work, and I was going to mention it later, but I had a chance to work with Brian Markinson, and just the flow of working with an actor like that, somebody who truly
Yeah.
enjoys his craft, somebody who truly understands the nature of that craft, and the technical aspects of that craft. You can just see that in the photos that we take. And the camera, whether you like it or not, sees everything, even more than in motion. It can tell when you're hunching, it can tell when you're nervous, and it can tell when you're genuinely letting something of yourself out, right?
Right.
So some of the people that I've had the pleasure of working with, Ryan Robbins, who I think, once again, a man who truly enjoys the craft,
Yeah.
a man who, as you know, has done everything he can to study that craft and get better at it, right?
Yeah.
And here he is. He had his own show, Pure, and now he's taken over for one of our childhood heroes on Riverdale, and doing an amazing job. And of course, there's Alex Panovich, who is probably my first ever muse, and a person who really gave me the time of day when a lot of other people wouldn't, and then promoted to other people, you got to go and work with Charles. And I just had the chance to watch him and the growth of his acting on Van Helsing, which everybody in Vancouver should watch, because it's one of the shows that hires so many amazing actors and Vancouver actors, and to see his growth in his character, unbelievable to watch, right? One of the guys that we're working with right now, who is also very much a muse of mine, is Darren Mann, who's on Fortunate Son.
Yeah, your shots. First of all, those three men are amazing. And I don't know Darren Mann, but Alex Ponovic and Ryan were both in music, which strikes me as interesting. And of course, Ryan was like one of my very first clients that I ever taught. I love subject. I wish I could use it.
Music is so important to what we both do, acting and photography. Like, in the studio, there's always music playing. Somebody told me that they went to a headshot shoot where there was no music, and I was like, that's very sterile, right? And I think that at secondary joys, like Darren was a hockey player prior. And I think he brings a lot of that sort of understanding of teamwork to what he does from it. And he's somebody to watch out for. I'd like to also, because a lot of my work goes into the world of female empowerment, because I believe that the future is woman. And I had the chance to work with Kim Fields, which was, I got.
Oh my God, they are so fun and wonderful and effervescent, and
that's her, right?
Yeah.
See it, right? And she was brought to me by Adrian Holmes, who I also got to shoot. And he was amazing. Some of the work we got with him was brilliant. But so Kim Fields, Bethany Brown, who I believe is set to be one of the best actors out there now. She's done with the 100 Flash. She has a number of projects I'm not allowed to mention because I don't even know if I know what they are. I got to work with Karen Lamb, a great director. We did a whole thing for her where we did a match off to Alfred Hitchcock. One of my muses, Tegan Vince, who is, I believe, one of the purest actors out there. So there's a wide range of actors I get to work with, but what they all share in common, especially with the more portrait and editorial style work, is people who truly love their craft. And you notice, I remember, and I love to share this story, is that everybody thinks that when they step in front of the camera, that the person before them who's great knows exactly what they're doing, and they're really happy to be in front of the camera. Actors don't like to be in front of the camera because they're used to being in front of a digital or a film camera where everything is moving. And once you make that sort of stagnant or still, it can really off-put an actor, right? So you really got to create an environment that is that allows them to have that movement. I remember with Alex, at one point he goes, I really, really hate this, right? And I think something clicked in my head, and so I sort of started treating it more like a film shoot. But yeah, very lucky.
But you can see that because your work is so character-based, and so you reach something in the artist. Like, I want to go to your Sunday sessions, and look at those portraits that are beautiful. This is the thing that made me think of Karsh, because I don't know what you're doing, but I love it.
I sometimes wonder as artists if any of us know what we're doing. There's a great line from the movie Art and Copy at the beginning of it, and one of the guys says the trouble with being what somebody considers to be an artist is you have no idea where your ideas are coming from, but more importantly, you have no idea where they're coming from tomorrow. It's one of my favorites.
You know what? I teach a confidence and creativity class that's outside of what I do, but it's based on the acting work. And one of the things that I've discovered is how to let your brain be open to that.
Because they appear from thin air, right? The idea.
Yes, yeah. And so much of it is just letting your life be the mess it is.
Yeah.
And then
you as an artist, you're a portal, right?
Totally. Yes, absolutely. 100%. And even as a scientist and even as a parent,
all these things are arts, are they not?
Yeah, okay, that's true. Okay, can we talk about Ryan, these photos of Ryan here?
Well, usually what we do is for starters, there's a whole team here. If you look on the side there, you'll see that Vitor Leo is a Digitech. I've got Zena Wong, my business partner. We have a makeup artist. Sometimes we have a stylist. So it really is a team job with the subject.
Right.
And he was one of the early Sunday portrait sessions where we really created a system. And with the Sunday portrait sessions, we shoot one thing that is sort of like a genuine you, or a portion of your character, something that you can use for publicity. Then we do another thing that's called Up Close and Personal, which is a black and white, really, really intense close-up of somebody. Then we do what we call Putting on the Ritz, which is how you would dress if you were going to an award show kind of thing. There's the difference between somebody like an Adrian Holmes who will wear a three-piece or a tux, and Michael Eklund who will wear whatever magical wardrobe he's decided, right? and then the last one is a message that you choose that you would like to share. Wow. And this one here, this image that we have here of Ryan is sort of his sort of version of putting on the Ritz. And this outfit really spoke a lot to me.
Look at the shoes.
Yeah, well, the shoes. I have an obsession with either really fancy dresses and or suits with runners. It's an obsession with mine. You'll see themes. Clowns are themes.
I noticed that.
Yeah. But I think the clown is the center of the actor, right? The clown of the mime.
Yeah.
But this one here was a real sense of him because he has a really beautiful size to him and the sort of shape. And there's such a sense of the intensity of who Ryan is, but with such the approachability of the nature of who he is. So I love this shot. It's one of my favorite shots of Ryan that we did. And he's just, I can't speak enough good things about Ryan.
Yeah, a lot of kindness. You see it in the eyes and strength.
Yeah. Very much so.
This portrait actually made me cry when I saw it on Facebook. You posted it on Facebook and I'm tearing up now. This is, I don't know what it is. Tell me what's going on. And this is an incredible shot.
Well, for starters, this is largely Ryan. So when we go in, I never work with anybody without having a chance to sit down with them and talk. And I said, well, what do you want to bring? He said, to be really honest with you, I want to send out a message. I have 2 daughters, a wife. So there's a lot of women in my life. I have a lot of friends who are LGBTQ. And I just want to make some sort of statement that says, I don't speak for you. I have no words to guide because it's for you to have the strength. But I really want to make a statement that says, I stand with you.
Right.
So it's really sort of a powerful statement to tell somebody that there's somebody who's standing with you. You will make your decisions. You will guide yourself. You will find your strength. But know that I am always here.
Wow.
And so his idea was that he wanted to do half his unmakeuped face and then half in drag. And we had first thought to do something really big with the hair and everything. And then I came up with a last minute idea. I said, what if you look at that picture and it takes you a couple of seconds to realize what's going on, to find the drag in there, or is he fully in drag? And at first we were taking the pictures with Ryan with that, and an amazing makeup done by Johanna Mintz, who at this point was just getting ready to finish off her schooling in makeup and came to join us. And she did such a great job with the makeup, a real lovely subtlety to it. Mm-hmm. And at the last minute, he said, Charles, can you just give me 2-3 minutes? I really think that I need to find something different than smiling. And his eyes welled up into tears. And he said, I'm ready. And I started shooting. And there was such I wish I could explain to you, the music, like when you're listening to YouTube and you don't have the professional YouTube, it stops and asks you to remind you whether or not you want to listen anymore. And the music had stopped. And we're taking this photo. And I knew while we were taking the photo that this was going to be something that was a really big statement. And we took the pictures. He needed a few moments to himself afterwards because he was truly finding something in himself. I got home that night and looked at the picture and edited this picture that night. And like yourself, I was in tears. And I think part of the reason why the tears are there is such brutal, real, in-your-face honesty. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from Ryan. And I think he felt he was in a safe place to do that. And I think that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, you give your subjects, the artists you work with, a lot of respect and safety. Like, absolutely. You found your thing. Wow. You really did. And what a difference. Like, what a difference.
Well, that's it. We really, it's funny because we were talking about the idea of like the clown and the mime. So the clown and the mime are, to me, they've always been sort of like the beginning of my acting career. It was there in the clowns and the mimes that I learned that I didn't have to act with words, that everything had to come out of me, right?
Physically.
And so I had gone from the clown work and then discovered text. And I think those two things together allowed me to act. So, but from us, there's this wellspring of characters that exist in us. They're very much us, but they exist in us. And the great actors really pull those characters out. My friend Tegan, I always say to her, Tegan Vince, I say, there's about 50 people hiding in you. and you let them out. And I think these are all little portions of Ryan. If you look at this, this picture was a real sort of shout out to the fact that Ryan loves his motorbikes.
Yeah.
And, you know, we try to tell stories like that. And he has a motorbike shop in Squamish where they, what do you call it, modify the bikes. And now, in fact, they're working on bikes. So this was a real sort of ode. And I wanted to just get the feeling from him here. This one was one that I'd asked of him, because you sometimes ask what you want. And I said, I wanted to have that feeling like he just got off his bike after like a huge tour, and you really see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I work with new writers and directors sometimes to help them develop characters and just make sure that their, you know, their work will stand up. And one of those like absolutely brand new directors that I was working with had written this really great little short film, but it needed a character actor. It needed somebody who could really act. So I sent Ryan a note and said, do you do short films still? Because I have this director. He's like,
Oh, yes, he
you know,
does.
6 months into film school, but he's great.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah. And so he and Nicole Lear and Brendan from, oh, help me, Nicole's husband, I can't remember his last name.
I apologize.
It's okay, cinematographer from Riverdale. They made his film.
Oh, brilliant.
You know, because of the kindness of these people.
But it's all about family, right? It's really about, we notice that a lot with what we're doing is, and we notice the growth of our work is because we are bringing so many creatives into the space. You know, no creative is an island, Jack, you know?
It's so true. It's so true. I want to just take a look at the general Sunday Portrait Sessions page, because there's so many beautiful shots on there. And then we'll go to the rest of the questions and wrap it up. But look at these photos. Are there some photos that you want to talk? This is beautiful. This is your friend Tegan, right?
That's Tegan Vince. Yeah, she's and without going too far, but I think actors need muses. I mean, photographers need muses,
Right.
Much in the same way that actors need good pieces to write and act in. And Tegan is one of those people. She's somebody I can follow her with a camera in the studio, and she'll always give me so much. And she's somebody who I have an incredible connection with, because she's so really good at finding pieces of herself, so it works well. I love that picture of Adrian. You know, we see a lot of work where people have put their hands on their face, but if you know Adrian, it speaks a lot to him. Just below him is a very good friend of mine, Jay DeMerit. Jay DeMerit was the former captain of the Whitecaps, and he has a really incredible story of how he left Green Bay to go to London to go seek his fame and fortune as a soccer/football player in Britain. And he went to this club, and that's who took him on. And it's really the story. I think all artists actually should see it, because it's called Jay DeMerit, The Rise and Shine Story. And it talks about how he built his own career from the ground up because he couldn't find it in America. Wow. Beside him is Colin Cunningham, who, you know, arguably one of the craziest and most wonderful actors in the world.
He's funny.
Oh yes, a brilliant man.
God, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, this sort of speaks to sort of what we were wanting to talk about with the Sunday Portrait Sessions, which is all of, you know, go down, you see John Cassini down there, Sharon Taylor, Brian Markinson. Sunday Portrait Sessions is a safe place for a group of artists to work, from the actors to myself to my business partner Zena, who does a lot of the digital work, the makeup artists. We have such a team. Like, look, there's Phil Granger. I love that picture of Hilary Jardine.
Oh my God.
It was sort of, I wanted sort of a mix between Charlie Chaplin, the Ride Me Clown, and sort of almost a Garbo feel to it, right?
Yeah.
But you know, Sunday Portrait Sessions has to be sort of a place where where stories are told, right? where personal stories. For example, that picture of Lori Triolo is also one of my favorites. And I forget the name of the woman who runs the institution, but I wanted something. She showed up with that garb, and I said, it'd be really good if we could create something that sort of, did Annie as well as the woman who ran the institution she was in, right?
Right.
And we mixed it. This woman, Lori Triolo, had been through so much trial and tribulation in her own personal and health life, and building such a strong career. She's a great teacher. And this woman, nobody, it's hard for me to say, but very few people have offered me what she offered, the vulnerability and the tenderness and the beauty she gave, right? So
yeah,
really,
it's like that shot of Ryan. It's just a shattering shot.
Yeah, and really, and she, like, we're talking about, these are real moments. Like, it's not like she just, either Ryan or her stood there and went, okay, here we go, playing. They built those up. Sunday Portrait Sessions is like making your own little independent film where you play all the characters, right?
Yeah, so it's so.
Can we just talk about this one guy here? No, go down a little bit. The guy in the sport jacket there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I met David in an elevator going to an audition for Sean Cossey.
Okay.
And I took a look at his eyes and I went, somebody needs to take your photo. This was his first audition ever.
What the what?
And he'd had such a trying tribulation time in his life, former bouncer, a lot of little troubles and stuff that he'd gotten himself into. And he came in, and once again, this is where I speak of the youth of people. Even though he's in his 50s here, he was new to acting. And there is a joy in being new, is that you have no preconceptions, right?
Yeah.
And some of the greatest reality flows through you at these points. And he gave us some of the best shots we've ever taken, ever, right?
He really does have the most beautiful eyes.
Yeah, and such a sense of pride of who he is, such a stillness.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, isn't it? To see when who is this with the camera here in the
that's another teacher, actor, writer, director. That's Andy Thompson, who may possibly be one of the greatest human beings on the planet.
Well, I like him from that shot.
I love people who actors who are not afraid to play the fool. I talk about it a lot while we're shooting, right? Is that there's an instinct when playing comedy to play the comedy,
right?
But it's nowhere near as funny as playing the seriousness in the comedy. Like, I get people to watch the WKRP Les Nessman.
My God. And that's her Charlie right there, know?
Yeah, and so he's so serious in his comedy that I've never watched anything Andy Thompson has done, even him talking to me, without laughing while talking. He's truly talented, man.
Wow, you really do getting into the Sunday sessions with you is like, hey, that's you.
Yeah, that was our first test. That was our first test with us together. But I also love it if you look at it's funny because when you hover over, you don't get to see it, but there's a rotary phone there, right?
Yeah, I see it.
The Sunday Portrait Session was with the phone because my business partner is Zena Wong, is a product photographer. So we've now incorporated telling the stories of old household items as in the same way we do Sunday Portrait Sessions. And she did some really amazing work with just a rotary phone. And it all started with the idea that sometimes a phone is just a phone. We're all attached to our electronic gadgets now, and our phone does 5 million things, and being a phone is only one of them. I was kind of nostalgic being 52 going, yeah, I remember when, you walked around and you wrapped the cord around your sister because you were talking.
Because you're an obnoxious kid.
Exactly.
This is what I have in my home. We don't have cell phones anymore. And so, I live pretty much off the grid. And so things are satellite and, that kind of thing. So this is what we have in our home. We don't call out with it. because we have one that is faster, but we listen to it, and
Yeah.
we answer it, and it feels different,
Yeah.
but it's not, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
I wanted to just talk, you've covered it a little bit, but can we talk about how to prep and what you expect? What you
Yeah, it's one thing we do different things with the portraiture and editorial stuff than we do with headshots.
Maybe I'll go to that page on your website.
Yeah, yeah, it's limited now. We're rebuilding the website, so we've taken some stuff down.
Got it. Oh, it's a great shot.
Yeah, Alex Ponovich. You can't take a bad picture of that guy. It's the Yeti is an incredible creature, and we should all. It's so funny because I was just watching Van Helsing, and he has the nickname the Yeti, and they actually threw that in for him, where somebody is sort of giving him a jibe and calls him the Yeti, right, during some sort of sport bout. It was actually quite
fantastic.
brilliant.
I'm just going to scroll through these as you talk, if that's okay.
Yep. No, please do. Well, all of them are sort of treated the same in the end, whether we're doing portraiture or headshots. For starters, when I say with headshots, there's only 3 times a headshot is used. I interviewed close to about 30 or 40 directors and producers when I decided to do headshots. Mm-hmm. And they said, listen, we want to stop with that beauty for photography where the people don't look like themselves.
Right.
We want to see the wrinkles. We want to see how they are, like what they would look like with their makeup on. If you can give us a little feel of what it looks like with film lighting, so you'll notice there's a lot of rim lighting in our shots. We try to keep them, we do shoot them wide, but we try to keep them nice and close so that people can look at the face. So the first time it's looked at is when they decide whether or not they're going to bring you in the room. The second time the headshot's used is when it goes back to network and they want to know what you look like in a close-up. Mm-hmm. And the third time is for makeup and wardrobe. So these are the only times they're really used. So it's really important to get a sense of your character, and more importantly, what's happening in your eyes. So we ask people, simple things. You ask pet peeves. I don't have many of them, but one is arriving with wrinkly and dirty clothing. You're only as good as the clothing you arrive with, right? The clothing should be an enhancement of the character that you want to be seen as, not overtake it, because we want to see your face. We want very much, you have to choose a character, even if the character is yourself. It's as Tegan put it to me, it's a real sense of a piece of yourself when you're there. It's not all of you. You get to walk away and have your own self in the real world, but just give a piece of yourself.
My little pony shirt. Oh my God.
Well, David James Lewis, that's not a shock that he's wearing a My Little Pony shirt there.
Wonderful.
Choose your character and sort of stick with it, right? Treat your headshot session as an acting exercise. Right. Don't be still. People, there's a desire for everybody, for a lot of actors to want to move. But movement can occur inside of you as you're developing an emotion or an intention, right? So, have you ever watched a great actor? Like, you'll look at a Pacino and you'll look when he's not delivering dialogue, but the camera's on him and he's still doing so much.
Yes.
That's the movement you have to find in a headshot session. And from Brian Markinson, who brought this to me, breathe.
Yeah.
Breathe. Everything. You know what I mean? Like, breathe through it. Acting is breathing. It's natural, right?
Yeah.
And subtlety, micro movements. Micro movements are important. Like, only move a little bit as you're moving around. Don't do broad movements, because you want to keep that shoot as tight and with not as much time as possible, because the reality is you're going to get bored with it. After 2.5 hours, nobody wants to be seen.
Well, I love all these shots. They're fantastic. I love the depth, the darkness.
Sage on the bank.
Calling out the friends.
Yeah.
This is a happy shot.
Yeah, that's Dax Belanger. We've recently updated it, so we're going to be doing it. We're actually reworking the site completely now, so you'll see a lot more in the future there.
Cool. I love your site. I love your work. I love you. You're a decent human being, and the industry is not entirely full of them. So it's really good to have to have you as somebody to recommend, and to know that people are safe with you, and that you're going to bring out something really truthful and honest and emotional in your work. I'm glad I know you.
Yeah, the feeling is incredibly mutual, and I think safety is really the key thing between what both you and I and a number of our friends do, is provide a safe place, right?
Yeah.
Let people know that they're free to move around and do as they wish, right? And
Yeah.
and you're doing this. It's funny. I am in people's faces. I'm right there with the camera. There's a lot of interaction between us in person, but to see what you're capable of doing from what is to most of us in the big city a million miles away, it just shows you that the connection has nothing to do with physical space, right? It has to do with it's either
It
there or it's
doesn't.
not.
No, what hit me was that um, you you're working in a frame, and when you're working as an actor, the magic is going across a screen.
Mhm.
So if I can pull that out of you this way, I'm just teaching you how to do what you do in the medium that you work in.
Yeah.
And also, I don't have to get tired. You
Mhm.
know, for me, I can limit the work that I do and limit the time that I do it, and it's a lot easier on me as a person. My students understand when, if I'm coaching something all week where it's abusive,
Mhm.
I can pull back, and my students understand, because I want to be able to give them what I need to give them. So, like abusive, I mean, like if I'm playing a role.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, and some scenes are, for lack of a better word, really aggressive, and sometimes people are having to go to really crazy places. But that goes back again to when you choose a photographer or you choose an acting coach, really have a talk with them, regardless of who they are. Know that when you talk to them, that you feel safe, but more importantly, know that they love the craft as
Yeah.
much as you do. And I think that's what a lot of your clients get out, is it's not like just the feeling I'm learning something, but I'm learning something from somebody who really cares about this craft,
Yeah.
right? That makes a difference, all the difference.
It does. It does. I liked the shout outs you were giving to different teachers, and I'm trying to get my students into class in Vancouver if they're in. I'm a coach. I don't teach. I don't have classes per se. I have some online classes, but not in person classes. So who are you saying?
Well, if and when she's in town, Laurie Triolo is a must.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the people that I'm going to mention. They are both. They come from both theater and film.
Right.
Uh, Laurie Triolo, no questions asked. A lot of people that I shoot do work with Ben Ratner,
Yeah.
and he seems to be really bringing a lot of great things to the students that I see coming from him. I don't know his teaching myself, but if I can gauge by the people that he's teaching, he's doing an amazing job. And my number one always is, and I see it, is Railtown Actor Studio.
I love those
John
people.
Cassini and the group there, and that leads to one more. If you can do one of her summer workshops, or you can make it up to Penticton, there is no questions asked. Everybody I have talked to, somebody who will not let you get away with a single falsity is Kate Tois.
Yeah. It's funny when yeah, Kate Tois and I used to recommend each other when we were working, and she's got a whole different way of being, but same thing,
Yeah.
same love. I want you to tell me anything that people can do to contact you, or anything that if you have anything coming up that people should know about. What would that be?
Okay, a couple things. So the best way to always contact me is by email at first. It's charles@charleszuckerman.com. I'm sure you're going to put a link to it
I am.
somewhere,
Yeah.
because there are those two ends. Hollywood
Yeah.
forgets the other end all the time. It's like a mini Ellis Island for us Jews. Right? That end right away, right? Um, um, and then also my website is charleszuckerman.com as well. And really, I say, don't even book a photographer until you go to their website, because I'm not for everybody, right? My style is real. It's gritty. If you're young and want beautification shots, because you'll still look great and still look your age, Carolina Turek, man, that's the person to go shoot with, man. You know what I mean? Like, I highly recommend. There are times when I recommend other people, right? So go look at their work.
It's really nice, Charles. I have to tell you real quickly what she did. I was getting my shots for my passport, and she was behind me in line, and we'd never met each other in person. And she's like, "Can I help you? Your hair is just all over the place." And she fixed my hair and did makeup for me in the room. I was like, "Oh, I'm recommending you."
Oh yeah, her and Jordan Dumka, Brandon Hart. These are all people there, right? Okay, but I'm supposed to be plugging myself.
You plugged Charles, yes.
I think that one has to look at a large scope right here.
So do I.
Also, you'll find on my Facebook, it's more what's really going on in my real world. So you'll see day to day, you'll see stuff that isn't completely edited. But if you go to my Instagram at @Zuckermann, just the first letter of my first name and then Zuckermann at the end, 2 N's, you can see more refined work. It's more of a quick portfolio rather than going to my website. Okay. But I will say, I will not work with a single person unless I talk to them.
Yeah.
So once you've contacted me by email or through my website, I will call you, and I'll probably call you a couple times. I think that we learn a lot, as an acting coach, actually having conversations and speaking to people, you get other forms of communication, and you can see if you guys blend and work together. So I will not work with anybody who I don't talk to. And I think it's to the chagrin of some people, because we live in a modern world where nobody really wants to communicate with words anymore. It's like text. No, I need to talk to people.
Yeah. And it's a pleasure to talk to you. So they should, they should call you up, damn it. All right. I got to wrap this up. Okay. Thank you so much, my old friend. And I will see you on the flip side. I'll probably see you online since I never go anywhere anymore.
Stay gold, pony girl. Stay gold.